week I want to do, you know, like an extra. It would be a What the Fuck Wednesday if we were still doing like, you know, just videos on What the Fuck Wednesday. But it's interesting, bro. Y'all good today? I hope so. If not, blow your nose. Welcome back. Damn. Motherfucker. Hey, we're just back through something to react to. Scared to Death, the TV show that traumatized the nation. This is Shrouded Hand. It's the channel. Listen, bro. It's about to be some reality scare fest shit. I feel like I ain't read the description. What the description say? Halloween 1992.
What did you say?
On Halloween 1992, the BBC broadcast a show that traumatized people so badly that children were left with PTSD. It also sent one person down a very dark path indeed. Let's get into it, bro.
Is it possible to create something that's so terrifying
That's already too much.
that it literally scares people to death?
Man, listen here.
In 1992, the BBC broadcast a show that caused children to vomit, grown men to soil themselves, and pregnant women to go into labour.
The 90s was crazy. And do I want to watch this? Y'all think now is crazy, bro. Y'all remember the 90s for real? I don't know.
It also, unfortunately, may have caused one young man to take his own life 5 days after watching it.
Do I want to watch this?
Hello everybody, Shrouded Hand here, and today we're taking a look at the horror masterpiece known as Ghostwatch. An ingenious hoax so controversial that it's never been shown on British television ever again. This video is actually part of a collaboration with Proper Horror Show. I'm going to be talking about the controversy and the aftermath of Ghostwatch in this video, and on Proper Horror Show's channel there'll be a video where me and her discuss the
Hey man, don't nobody give a damn. Let's go.
show itself in depth.
Sorry.
I'll put a link to that in the description, so go check that out. You can watch them in either order.
I probably will. Damn it. Shit.
It was Halloween night 1992, 9:25 PM. The show had been advertised in the TV Times as a drama and mockumentary. The announcer before the show indicates that we're about to watch a drama that blurs the lines between reality and fiction, and the intro credits say that it was written by Stephen Volk. I do have to wonder if the 9:25 time slot was deliberately chosen so that people would miss the first few minutes, as most shows would have started at past. This was 1992, TV wasn't on demand. You couldn't just rewind the live television or press a button to get a synopsis on screen. If you missed the beginning of a show, that was tough. And if you did miss the first few minutes of Ghostwatch and you hadn't read the TV Times, you'd have a pretty hard time identifying this as a work of fiction. The premise of the show was simple: a live ghost hunt.
That's important, bro. You turn on some shit and you don't know the premise of it and you don't even know what you're watching, you just turn the fuck on, you think it's real. That's a whole nother effect right there. Ooh.
Unassuming suburban home in North London had been the site of a number of strange happenings. The family inside terrorised by what appeared to be poltergeist activity and an entity that the children had named Pipes. For Halloween, the BBC was sending a crew of investigators, including popular TV presenters Sarah Green and Craig Charles, to investigate the house live. Back in the studio, Michael Parkinson was joined by Dr. Lynn Pascoe to analyse the live footage, as well as taking calls from the public who had called into the live phone-in number. Of course, it wasn't really live. The whole thing had been pre-recorded weeks before Halloween.
They had this set up clean though. This would work now, bro. Not in the same effect, not the same effect, but it'd be great entertainment for sure.
The plot was loosely based on the Enfield poltergeist, the same events that inspired The Conjuring 2. It was set up to look as realistic as possible. Everything was filmed in the house as if it was live, giving it a grainy, shaky, handheld quality. Years before, found footage movies made this sort of thing.
I want to watch
old
some of
hats.
these.
It was also 10 years before Most Haunted first aired, so people hadn't become jaded by years of these cookie-cutter ghost investigation shows. 11 million people tuned into that broadcast, many of them children who'd been allowed to stay up late for Halloween. Those who knew it was a hoax were probably having a good time, but many people didn't realise, and they started to panic, thinking they were watching real events.
Stop it, Susie! Suzanne, you're coming with me. Suzanne? You're coming... Suzanne? Listen to me, Susie.
Oh, this is...
Susie?
The helpline number on screen was real. Viewers of a certain age might remember it as the live and kicking number, so ringing it would get you through to BBC Studios. Apparently, if you rang the number that night, you got a recorded message telling you that Ghostwatch was indeed a work of fiction, and then you were transferred through to one of the 5 telephone operators standing by.
Okay.
However, the show's producers vastly underestimated how many people would be fooled by the show. The phone line quickly got jammed, and most people ringing it simply got an engaged tone. This might even have heightened the realism of the show.
So they didn't even fucking get to hear that, and it's like congested, which adds to the panic. You know what I'm saying? Because that like sound matters, bro. So you got this weird fucking tone playing, and you already panicked and fucking freaking out and shit.
Engaged tone. This might even have heightened the realism of the show. Towards the end, the ghost begins to interfere with the electronics. Viewers finding the phone lines jammed might even have imagined that it was the evil influence of Pipes himself.
See, I don't like how them flashes though.
I'm not going to give away the ending, but in the final few minutes things go so over the top that even if you did believe it was real, you'd probably realise it was fiction by the end. However, a lot of people didn't see the end. Many were so scared that they switched it off before the conclusion. Some people watched the whole thing, but they were so absorbed by the realism of the show that they were able to entirely suspend their disbelief. They simply failed to spot the clues. They didn't even notice in the end credits where they list the actors, including revealing that Pipes was played by somebody called Keith Ferrari.
Cause ain't nobody, end credits should give it away already. Ain't nobody looking at that after you. If you scared, you ain't fucking looking at this shit. But it's end credits. So that should be like, it should be, I guess.
Panicked calls to the BBC television studios continued into the night. The BBC even put out an announcement to reassure people that Ghostwatch wasn't real, but by that point the damage was done. The nation had been duped, and Pipes had entered the minds of thousands of traumatized people. And I'm not kidding about the reaction to this when I said at the beginning that it caused grown men to soil themselves. A woman really did send a bill to the show's producers for a new pair of trousers for her husband because Ghostwatch had made him literally crap his pants. Apparently 3 women went into labour whilst watching it too.
How much, 3 women went into labour? How much does it cost to pay the doodle on yourself bill? What's the price of that?
Literally crap his pants. Apparently 3 women went into labour whilst watching it too.
We actually built our Saturday night with the children around watching it.
But your son was upset?
Yes. Within 5 minutes, nothing had happened. He reacted instantly. He was very distressed instantly to something very sinister in the presentation, and nothing had actually happened.
I was working with my wife in another room, and my youngest child, who was 10, rushed out of the room, vomited in the hall, was absolutely ashen-faced, wouldn't even talk about this thing for 2 or 3 hours. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning that I got her to talk about it, and she wouldn't sleep in her own bed for 2 nights.
Well, I thought it was one sick joke, the way that it was based around children, the way that the children were involved in the actual story. Why did you have to bring the children into it? But it
I hope they show clips and you bring children into it because it makes it more scary. Not saying it's right, but that's the obvious reason why, bro, because it's easier to fuck with their head. You're going to get a way better reaction. You know what I'm saying? It's going to look more authentic.
Funny. It wasn't funny at all.
I thought that mullet guy story about the kids vomiting might be an over-exaggeration, but I was chatting to a friend of mine about Ghostwatch on Messenger, and he said when he was a kid he had to watch it with a bucket in front of him because he felt sick with anxiety. As for me, sadly, I wasn't allowed to watch it. My parents were probably right to stop me from seeing it. I would have been traumatized. I was a bit of a soft kid, and I was absolutely obsessed with ghosts at that age. I don't know how many sleepless nights I had lying awake listening to every creak and knock in the house, thinking it was some restless spirits coming to get me, and that was without seeing Ghostwatch. I was also completely gullible, and other kids used to make up ghost stories to tell me because they knew I would believe anything they said. But still, it's a massive regret of mine that I never got to watch Ghostwatch when it first aired. feeling the impact that that show had. It's something that I'll never get to experience watching
Show us clips.
horror movies as a cynical adult. I do remember going into school the Monday after it aired. There was a huge buzz among all the kids that had seen it. Ghostwatch had aired on the Saturday night and it was now Monday morning, but even so, a lot of kids were still pretty worked up about it, so much so that my teacher had to sit the class down and tell everyone that the show wasn't real. So even though I didn't get to see it myself back then, I still have a good idea of how it affected the minds of small children. In fact, Ghostwatch was the first TV show known to have caused PTSD in children.
That's craziness, bro.
In one case, a boy had been frightened by Ghostwatch and had refused to watch the ending. He subsequently expressed fear of ghosts, witches and the dark, constantly talking about them and seeking reassurance. He suffered panic attacks, refused to go upstairs alone, and slept with the bedroom light on. He had nightmares and daytime flashbacks and banged his head to remove thoughts of ghosts.
Hey, when that shit hitting you in the daytime, it's a problem, bro. If it's in your brain during the day...
He became increasingly clingy and was reluctant to go to school or to allow his mother to go out without him. Another case study reports that immediately after watching Ghostwatch, a child also described as a warrior had complained of being frightened. He felt sick and cried easily and refused to go into his bedroom, complaining of someone watching him there. He was consequently allowed to sleep in his parents' room where he talked excessively.
Hey, listen, I ain't never been... I don't know if I've ever been a kid that was scared of the dark. Like, I can remember at times being, like, wary of it. But, like, I don't think I've ever been scared of the dark, but I can see why, bro. Like, if you got a child scared of the dark, man, like, you gotta just talk to him or something. Because I ain't mad at that one, bro. Weird things happen in the night, bro.
About his fears. His parents were drawn into a discussion and had to reassure him repeatedly throughout the night. And so this gives you a good idea of the kind of terror that this program generated back in 1992. And it brings us to the case that I alluded to at the beginning of the video, the death of Martin Denham. Martin was an 18-year-old factory worker from Nottingham. He had learning difficulties and was thought to have a mental age of a 13-year-old child.
Damn.
After watching Ghostwatch, there was a peculiar change in Martin's behaviour. His stepfather described him as being in a trance, as if hypnotised by the show. They kept asking him if he was alright, but he seemed distant and preoccupied. That night, he refused to turn the light off when he went to bed, which was unusual for him. The central heating in his house would make banging noise.
If you know all that about your child, and maybe I missed something, but why would you let him watch it, bro?
Just like the banging noises that pipes made in the show. Despite his mother and stepfather's best attempts to reassure him, he became obsessed with the idea that the house was haunted. Sadly, 5 days after Ghostwatch aired, Martin Denham was found dead in Bestwood Park with a length of hosepipe around his neck.
Jesus.
He was hanging from a tree known locally as the Witch Tree. In his pocket they found a note that read, "Mother, do not be upset. If there is ghosts, I will now be one, and I will always be with you as one." Somebody taking their own life is sinister enough, but for him to do it from the Witch Tree, and the fact that he used a hosepipe, it gives a very real world death a feeling.
Bro, like, fuck, he fucking... shit got in his brain so much, bro. Like, he thought he was going somewhere with it, like... He probably took comfort in doing it, thinking like, oh, I could just come back as a ghost. Like he said, he wasn't all the way there, because even that don't make sense.
Of an urban legend.
That's ugly.
Martin's fiancée, his mother and his stepfather were naturally furious with the BBC. They blamed Ghostwatch directly for Martin's
Sorry, my monitor just went out. What the fuck was that?
death. The Denhams made a complaint to the Broadcasting Standards Commission, the BSC. Upon review, the BSC ruled that the BBC had a duty to do more than simply hint at the deception it was practicing on the audience. In Ghostwatch, there was a deliberate attempt to cultivate a sense of menace. They found that Ghostwatch was excessively distressing and graphic for that time of night, and that the presence in the programme of presenters familiar from children's programmes took some parents off guard in deciding whether their children could continue to view. And it's for this reason that Ghostwatch has never been aired on terrestrial TV.
I want to see this shit, bro.
Ever again, although it is available on some streaming services and was released on DVD.
Hold on.
Available that Ghostwatch has never been aired on terrestrial TV ever again, although it is available on some streaming services and was released on DVD.
Is it? Hold on. So this shit is on YouTube.
What is that?
Watching it.
Now, I don't know how much Ghostwatch can be blamed for Martin Denham's death. I suppose what we'll never know is what other factors influenced his state of mind. Were there other events leading up to that Halloween night that might have played a role in his actions? It certainly seems that Ghostwatch acted as a sort of trigger, but it seems to me too simplistic to suggest that it was the sole cause of his death. Could somebody who wasn't already having dark thoughts be so affected by a single TV show that they'd hang themselves 5 days later? It's a question that unfortunately we'll never be able to answer.
I think it would depend on just their mind state in general. Like, everybody ain't got the same fortitude. Everybody ain't built the same, bro. Like, some people don't take much, but I don't know. Like you said, you'll never know, bro.
5 days later, it's a question that unfortunately we'll never be able to answer. It also raises the question of how much should we be allowed to blur the lines between fiction and reality? How much responsibility does TV have to make it clear that the show is fictional? I actually bought the TV Times from Halloween 1992 to take a look, and there's a big 2-page feature promoting Ghostwatch, and they do make it very clear that the show is a drama. The show also tells you at the beginning and the end that it is fiction, and they can't have predicted quite how strong a reaction it would have got. Still though, there is a sense of mischief to the show. You do get the impression that they were deliberately trying to fool people, at least to begin with. But if the aim of horror is to terrify people, then it needs
Okay, I'm about to say, I hope that wasn't scary. I knew that was a joke inside of a joke, but
to push some boundaries. Would Ghostwatch be so fondly remembered today if it hadn't traumatized people so much when it aired? Would it have had any kind of impact
Probably
if
not.
the whole way through it was made explicitly clear that the viewer was watching a simple horror movie? On the other hand, I'm not trying to imply that a young man's death and a bunch of kids with PTSD was somehow worth it just so we could get a good horror experience.
No.
The events that followed Ghostwatch were tragic and unforeseeable. A good-natured hoax and a fun Halloween scare that seems to have sent one man down a very dark path.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want.
Ghostwatch concludes with the revelation that the live broadcast had acted as a kind of national seance.
You must be talking about the guy that committed suicide. Yeah.
The revelation that the live broadcast had acted as a kind of national seance. That the millions of viewers had somehow imbued Pipes with a power that extended far beyond the television screen. And I suppose in a way they really did achieve that. He may be a fictional monster, but that Halloween night, through the collective trauma of thousands of viewers, Pipes became a very real entity, able to reach out from the screen and possess people's minds, controlling their thoughts and behaviours long after the credits rolled.
That shit's crazy.
I wonder how many new haunted houses were created that night.
Gang of them.
So, thank you for watching this video. I don't know what order you're watching these in, but if you haven't watched my chat with Proper Horror Show yet, then go check that video out. We go really in depth into all the ways that Ghostwatch deliberately messed with the audience's heads.
They will have a hidden ghost present, and they actually train the viewer to look for it. This is something I really love. It's very clever. They interrupt the show with a caller saying they think they've seen a hidden ghost in the background, and they spend some time on it, and this is training the viewer to look for the ghost.
That's fire.
Right, now let's roll the tape.
And they show different versions of the footage. So the first time you see it, the ghost is really obvious, and you have a few seconds to catch it, and then they go back to a different version of the scene and the ghost isn't there.
So I'm wondering
That's
also,
horror
as
101.
well as this aspect of, oh, did I see that? There's also, it might have a psychological impact on the viewer where you don't see it consciously, but like you sort of pick up on it in your subconscious. You know, there's something there. Like it gives you a sense that there's like a presence, even though you're not
like that'll shit'll fuck up the shadows for you in real life. You know what I'm saying? Hold on,
consciously thinking, oh, was there a ghost in the background? So there's some points you might just pick up on this. You know, because your brain's trained to pick up on faces, isn't it? So I wonder if there's like also an aspect of it sort of playing with your subconscious as well.
Oh, definitely. Great horror does this. In fact, I'd say generally great film does this. The phrase that Red Letter Media used, I think, is "you didn't notice, but your brain did."
Plus, you get to see what a socially awkward weirdo I am when I have to interact with another human being, so that'll be fun for you.
Bro, you straight, bro.
Huge thanks to...
Thank you for the video, bro. Don't give a damn about none of that. Listen, I'm surprised I'm just now hearing about this. I'm watching this shit, bro. Like this that shit is on fucking YouTube to rent, my guys. Think I'm not watching that? Yeah, hour and 31 minutes. Hold on, how much is it? What's the price, guys? Rent it for $1.99. Buy it for $12.99. Yep, peace, love, strength. I'm gone, bro. I ain't got time for this shit.